Yes, every product is a pain relief device. Founders want customers, but ironically, the best way to get customers is by seeing the world in reverse. What kind of people are customers before they buy a product? Why do people pay money in the first place? The whole reason that a person in pain might become your customer is for your product to take them on an emotional journey. That journey has a beginning, middle, and end. The person starts with meaningful pain. They are hurting. So they pay money for a product because they expect it to make them feel better. Looking at this journey in reverse reveals who will not become a customer. People who are fine will not buy your product. People who are joyous are even worse. They would ask you to pay them. As a founder of a startup with no customers, your most important task is searching for people who are hurting, people with meaningful pain. Their pain is your opportunity. The most frequent outcome in entrepreneurship is that a founder wastes a year before recognizing that they are pursuing a bad startup idea. In other words, the founder wants to solve a problem, but it takes them a year to realize that everyone that they're connecting with feels fine. They don't have the problem. To avoid this common fate, founders can develop an understanding of the relationship between products, money, and emotions. This is the key to evaluating a startup idea in days, not years. Welcome to the Nascent podcast. I'm Mike Vladimir, and I am obsessed with startups with no customers. Nascent is a strategy to identify the invisible signals that reveal the potential for a startup to get customers. This is episode 31. Yes, every product is a pain relief device, so only people who are hurting might pay money for products. Well, how did we get here? Specifically, what is money and why do humans decide to spend it? Last year, I ran a series of workshops where I posed a version of that question. I asked the workshop participants, as a consumer, what does money mean to you? What does a dollar in your pocket mean to you? One participant said, quote, I don't know. I can't quite put my finger on it. And honestly, his response was pretty common. Other participants described what money does. They said things like, quote, I'm purchasing something that I feel will bring value to my life. And a few participants got even more specific. One said that money is, quote, a tool. Instead of hungry, I get full. Instead of cold, I feel warm. Overall, the participants did not have a specific, passionate opinion about money, despite hoping that their startups would make lots of it. Even when I studied business at Berkeley, we never really got into the essence of money. I think it's crucial for founders to have a strong, thoughtful point of view. After all, we're not creating charities. A successful startup requires paying customers. So I think it's a really worthwhile exercise to think more about money and, by extension, what makes someone decide to pay for a product. Because those decisions are what determines whether our startup lives or dies. As a benchmark, Wikipedia defines money as quote-unquote payment for goods and services, which is true, but useless to entrepreneurs. It's like saying that planes fly because they stay in the air. We need to understand why this happens. We want to understand lift and what is an equivalent force in business that makes customers pay. The closest thing that I've seen to a good explanation is the Jobs to be Done framework that says that people hire products to do a job for them. For instance, often in the morning, McDonald's customers will buy a milkshake for breakfast because they are quote-unquote hiring it to feel full and engaged on a long commute. The Jobs to be Done framework says that customers purchase products to overcome a struggling moment, like that tedious commute. But this leaves questions unanswered, such as, where does the struggling moment come from in the first place? And why do people purchase at one price but not another? Nascent offers answers to these questions. People in pain become customers through a chain of events, and negative emotions are the first step in that chain. Unless there is an emotional unlock, people will not pay money and become customers. Specifically, the perspective of Nascent is that humans make decisions in a three-part system. A person in pain who is hurting decides to pay money to get pain relief from a product. Most importantly, the money and the product are visible, but the pain is invisible. For instance, a customer at a shop might pay $1 to buy ibuprofen to relieve a headache. We can see the money. The customer hands a $1 bill to the clerk, or they wave their phone over a payment terminal. We see the packet of ibuprofen, But what we cannot see is their headache. The pain is invisible. In other words, the whole reason our startup with no customers might make money someday is because people with hidden pain will pay us for pain relief. This hidden factor of pain is what makes understanding money so difficult and so important. So let's dive in. In this episode, we're going to talk about why products imply hidden pain, Nascent's definition of money, and pain as a signal of opportunity. Over the past few episodes, I've been encouraging you to run discovery interviews with people who you think could benefit from your startup, and to characterize their emotions and see how they feel about the problem that you want to solve. To do this, Nascent includes a tool called the Yardstick of Pain that simplifies interviewees' emotions into one of three buckets: hurting, or fine, or joyous. The perspective of Nascent is that the essence of business is transforming a person in pain into a paying customer, and that every product that customers buy is a pain relief device. This is true for products that you're already familiar with, and for the products that you hope to create with your startup. I think it's really important for founders to internalize this concept that products provide pain relief, and therefore products imply pain. For example, if you see someone hiking in the woods and you think, yeah, they look fine, you are probably correct. They are fine now, but they didn't always feel like that. Before the hike, they were scared of getting lost in the woods. Before the hike, they were worried about dropping important tools. What are the clues that they went from feeling scared and worried to feeling fine? You can just look at them. We see that they're holding a compass that relieved their fear of getting lost. We see that they're wearing a backpack that relieved their burden of lugging gear by hand. But we're not mind readers, so the most important thing for us is to talk with them and listen to them when they tell us that they feel okay, that they have no worries. Their journey of using products to feel okay had a beginning, middle, and end. At first, the hiker was a person in pain who was hurting. Then they bought products to get pain relief: the compass, the backpack, whatever else they needed for that hike. And so now, at the end of their journey, they're doing fine. As entrepreneurs, we want to deeply understand this transformation. What matters is that the person in pain paid for products to take them along that emotional journey. Without that initial condition of hurting, the person in pain does not buy a product. Our challenge is that it's easy to envision the money and the products, but it's difficult to articulate the hidden pain that those products imply. So as you navigate the world around you, I encourage you to try to say aloud the pain implied by the products that you see. For instance, right now you're probably somewhere with a door nearby. You could look at the door and say that it implies a fear of revealing sensitive information, of not wanting to be overheard. You might also say that the door implies your worry about disturbing other folks nearby with your loud noises. As a founder, when you envision the product that you want your startup to make, it's crucial to understand the emotions of the people in pain that you want to serve. So that's one way to look at the relationship between products and the pain that they imply. Another relationship that we want to think about deeply is between products and money. Nascent actually has two definitions for money. Money is a metric for pain, and money is liquid pain relief. When I say that money is a metric for pain, what I mean is that not all problems are equal. In this world, most problems are worth pennies, but there are rare, special problems that are worth millions or billions of dollars. Nascent is all about prioritization. I want you to be really clear about what a good problem looks like. You want to solve expensive problems. And when I say that money is liquid pain relief, what I mean by liquid is that money is easily exchanged as opposed to a gold bar or real estate. Essentially, I want you to think about pain as a potential that a product can release, similar to the way that water builds up behind a dam. The more, the better. Our goal is to transform that potential energy into something useful, into kinetic energy as well as electricity. The dam allows water to flow, creating kinetic energy. This is similar to how a product relieves pain. More importantly, the dam also generates electricity. Similarly, a product delivering pain relief outputs cash money. The big idea is that people want their pain to be relieved. Most of the time, they can do it themselves. Occasionally, something special happens and people cannot relieve their own pain. That's when there is this huge buildup of pain that is just dying to get released. So their other option for pain relief comes from buying a product. In other words, people in pain pay money for the pain relief that they expect a product to deliver. The best problems for your startup to solve belong to accessible, empowered people who have frequent, expensive, excruciating pain. Let's unpack those words. A good example of somebody who is accessible is a little kid. You can walk around town and probably bump into one. You could ask the kid, "Hey, do you want some ice cream?" Of course the answer is yes. But the problem is that a child has no power. They would have to get money from their parents. By contrast, billionaires like Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk have all the power in the world. They could buy ice cream or anything else that they want, but they're not accessible. Most people in the world will never speak with a billionaire. So as a founder, you are searching for special people who are both empowered to spend money and accessible to you. And if you can find these rare, special people, then you want to see if they have frequent, expensive, excruciating pain. The problem has to happen to these people often, hopefully in the last few days or weeks. It needs to be really costly, and it has to have that emotional resonance, which we categorize as hurting on our Yardstick of Pain. When we interview people in pain, we're trying to understand their current emotional state. Of course, our ultimate goal is to find people who are hurting and give them a reason to believe that our startup will dramatically reduce their pain. But for right now, we are just trying to figure out if these people even exist and what type of pain they have. You can see this by applying the Yardstick of Pain. A product is a pain relief device. You can think of it as an arrow that describes the journey of a person in pain moving along the yardstick. The origin of the arrow is their current pain. This is what determines the size of the opportunity. So your goal as a founder is to run discovery interviews and to use those conversations to categorize the interviewee's current emotional pain. You're hoping to find an opportunity to deliver pain relief. Through this lens, the Yardstick of Pain lets you categorize the opportunity. People who are joyous have nowhere to go. Technically, if someone is fine, yes, you can try to get them to joyous, but that is extremely hard. My favorite example of this is the movie Gladiator, where Russell Crowe is in a battle at the Colosseum. After he slays the other fighters, he shouts at the audience, "Are you not entertained?" And that's the thing. Getting people to feel entertained, to move from fine to joyous, is so difficult. By comparison, it's easier, not easy, but easier, to take people who are hurting and move them closer to feeling fine. As an entrepreneur, I hope you're starting to see products as pain relief devices. And this is why thinking through the journey of a customer in reverse is so powerful. The most important role of a product is to help people feel better. This point of view allows us to distinguish between people who are fine and joyous, who will not become our customers, and people who are hurting, who might someday become customers. As a founder, you're looking for people in pain who are accessible and empowered to pay you. Their pain is frequent, expensive, and excruciating. The more people you can find with these unique traits, the more reason you have to invest time in your startup. And if all of the people that you speak with feel fine or joyous, then that's also a useful signal that it's probably not worth investing a lot more time in this specific startup idea. I would love for you to try to develop this skill of articulating the relationship between products and pain. Look at 2 or 3 objects in your life and try to articulate the pain that they imply, similar to the products that we've discussed in this episode, the compass, the backpack, the door. After you've done that for some other products, repeat it with your startup idea. What are the fundamental pains that you want your startup to solve? Email me about your results at podcast@nascentidea.com. I would love to hear about it. If you are navigating a startup with no customers and you want a structured approach to this challenge, subscribe to this podcast and our Substack. And if you have a funded startup that's pivoting and you cannot afford to burn another year on the wrong idea, let's talk. You can book a call with me at nascentidea.com. Okay, founders, let's find opportunities worth pursuing. You got this.